skin cancer is the most common of all human cancers in the United States, with over 1 million people diagnosed each year. I went to the sunscreen booth to find out how much damage my own skin had, and then I talked to a survivor on how she discovered she had melanoma. Diane Tate works at McDonough District Hospital. She explained to me most people are shocked at how damaged their skin really is.
And that's one reason why we do the sun damage screenings here, because like I say, it doesn't diagnose cancer or anything, it just makes you aware of how much sun damage you have on your skin.
I myself was shocked at how damaged my own skin was when I went into the sun damage screening booth. Tate explained to me my skin was moderately damaged from the sun and told me the importance of wearing sunscreen daily.
The sunscreen really protects your skin and stuff, whatever, so hopefully you don't develop skin cancer. And like I say, there are some less serious ones like basal cell carcinoma, and then of course there's the melanoma, which is known as the deadly skin cancer.
Jasmine Crichton is a survivor of skin cancer. She was diagnosed with melanoma more than 10 years ago. Crichton says she noticed a scab on her arm. When she finally saw her dermatologist, they called her 3 days after her skin was tested.
I knew when they were calling me so soon after they saw me that something was really wrong. They had me come in and they told me it was melanoma. The mole looked like, it was really dark and it was smaller than a pencil eraser and it looked like a scab. And that's what I originally thought it was. I was just tired of it being on my arm, so I kind of just scratched it and I scratched it off and it came back and it looked exactly the same, and I thought that's really weird.
Crichton was in the marching band and she didn't want to go through the hassle of putting sunscreen on.
I got really fried a few times and had really bad sunburns and even probably in blisters too.
Jasmine said she might have thought she was the uncool kid then, but now sunscreen is a daily priority.
Sunscreen is part of my daily life now. My makeup has sunscreen in it, so my face is always has SPF on it. And I cover up for the most part, but when it comes to summertime and it's warm out, I do spray myself with sunscreen.
Crichton now sees a dermatologist once a year to make sure she is still cancer-free. It is not only important for those who have had cancer to get checked out, but everyone else should too.
If ever, one thing we do advise and stuff whatever is like you do a skin cancer check and stuff whatever when you go, or ask for that when you go to your doctor, so they can check you from head to toe to make sure that you don't have any lesions that need to be biopsied or removed. Now, you can consult your dermatologist immediately if you have any moles or pigmented spots that are as you see on your screen. Irregular shaped, or if they have an odd border, they can vary from one area of color to the next, or they can be bigger than 6 millimeters, which is normally the size of an eraser on a pencil. I was more than surprised when I saw the damage I had done to my face, so please make sure you get checked out, because you might not know what's underlying your skin. Humans and animals all have a virus known as influenza. One of the most recent cases of the flu, though, have popped up around the Chicago area. I spoke to a local veterinarian on what exactly this virus is doing to canines. To most dog owners, they love their dog like a kid. Just as parents worry when their kid gets the flu, you should be worried about your dogs too.
Influenza, all different species have an influenza virus. So horses have influenza, people, swine, birds, etc. So it's the dog version.
A big concern is when the dog is around other dogs who have either been sick or exposed to the virus. This is causing dog parks and grooming and boarding facilities to close.
Most dogs are spreading the virus before they have clinical signs. Fatality rates are relatively low. Classically for flus, the young and the old and the immunosuppressed are the ones that can have a harder time with it.
Yeah.
Dr. Blakely also says the current flu vaccines are in the United States for dogs and are offered at most veterinarian clinics, including here in Macomb.
So signs and symptoms, dry, hacky cough, most people are confused it with they're choking on something. They may or may not have a fever, depression, lethargic, not eating, not drinking. Rarely it can develop into pneumonia, which becomes more of a wet, productive cough, runny nose, drainage from the eyes and nose. This strain is a little riskier for cats than the old strain, so you potentially can have an issue where if you have a dog with the cat gets it.
Now, as you can tell, Danny loved being in front of the camera, and I really wanted to take him home. But Dr. Blakely says that this version of the flu is not contagious to people, so no worries. Also, if the flu comes to Macomb, they're going to be ready for it. But it is very possible with all the constant traffic. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact your local vet. Western is not the only school affected by the budget impasse. I myself traveled to Eastern Illinois University and University of Illinois to hear how the budget is controlling university decisions. Eastern Illinois University has 7,640 students, which is 4,500 less than in 2006. EIU is expecting even less students to enroll without a budget in the future. I spoke to Katie Witt, who is the executive vice president of the student body, and she's worried she might see the doors closing on her university.
And then as a student trustee, I'm seeing how the university is being affected, and it's kind of scary because every single meeting that we have had since February has revolved around this budget.
Eastern has had dozens of layoffs, and intercollegiate athletics have been cut as well. Witt is concerned student government is next.
Programs that we want to have, we can't do that. And like student government especially, we don't charge students for our events. It's just like free to the public because we're there for the students. So it's really hard on us to have those programs and those events for students to participate in and like come and support schools, like show school spirit and support EIU whenever we don't have those funds to have those programs.
Stephen Simpson is the Vice President of Academic Affairs. He also believes without a state budget, students will not continue to go to school because they do not have the money to pay.
Students weren't receiving that. That's a motivation to some students, like being able to have some of their college paid off, because that's one of the most stressful things, trying to figure out how to pay off college. Of course, the studying and everything is incorporated into that, but not knowing how you're going to pay for this education is probably the top priority for most students. University of Illinois has great alumni networks and healthy foundations with continuing steady enrollment, which is why they have not seen big budget cuts like other schools. But without a budget in the future, they are preparing for what is to come.
MAP grants were promised to students, and they went to school with that promise. They enrolled with that promise that they would be receiving those MAP grants, and to put that in question or to ultimately not give those grants to the students is just a really bad situation.
But the problem is, when you have a budget that is so important to so many people's lives, you can't play politics and just hope that your ideas get pushed forward and put, millions of other people who live in this state at risk. Their futures are just as important, if not more important, than the ideology of a governor. And so just lawmakers have to put that behind them and start working together to put
MAP grants pay for a fourth of students' tuition, and students throughout the state are depending on the grants to be able to afford school.
The university just announced that they will credit $13 million to our to cover the students' MAP grants for the spring, but there was a precursor that that we may have to pay it back if the state doesn't pass the budget in time.
So the MAP grants are really important to me just because I wouldn't be able to be a student at Eastern. I wouldn't be able to have the leadership opportunities I've had or just get the education that I'm getting right now.
To be able to have that safety net and not have to worry so much picking up a fourth or fifth job and having my grades not be so good because I have to pay for it.
After speaking to the students, I asked them, now, if you had the chance to speak to Governor Bruce Rauner and legislators, what would you say? And they all agreed on the topic of higher education.
It's important to point out that it's just unprecedented what we're seeing. Never before has Illinois gone this far into a fiscal year without funding higher education. And
we need to know something as a school, a public university. It's almost January and we don't know where we are yet. So
students are going to pay attention to this issue. They're not going to sit idly by and just watch their MAP grants get cut, since typically students aren't paying attention. They aren't zoned in on a lot of key legislative issues, but MAP grants have caught their attention.
I feel like every single year they take more and more away from public universities, and we can't run on our own. We have to have the states the state backing us up.
Well, I'd say, Governor, there are 40,000 students here, and each one of them has a future that's based on this university. If you're going to pull our funding, you're pulling away our future. You got to stop, using our education as a bargaining chip to get what you want. Put that aside, put aside those games that you're playing, and deal with the actual issue at hand, which is getting the students the funding that they need to go to college.
One organization in McDonough County is on a mission to decrease the number of homeless families in the county, and community members came together to help. A local nonprofit spent their Saturday remodeling a house to make it home for local families in need. When asked where the idea of Genesis Garden came from, it all started with one man, Brooke Scholes.
He was living in Shade Tree Mobile Home Park, and when that closed back in 2010, he organized a big push, organized a homeowners association
Genesis Garden is currently working with 2 families who are homeless and 2 that are on the verge. The house is going to cost $40,000 to $50,000 to renovate, and that money comes from donation. Volunteers from students to organizations and community members came out to help make this house feel like home to those families without a roof over their head.
I'm here because I thought it would be fun. I like to work with people. It's something we need to do as a community. And I like the idea of having a home for those who don't have them.
I came out just to do my part to help. I feel like there's so little opportunities to help those around us, and that when something like this comes across, you have to take full advantage of it.
These volunteers want to give back to those who are in need in their community.
We need to be able to provide these services. We need to be able to make sure that people have a safe haven in our county. And we also have some people that have come here today just to look at the project that who have a background in construction and said that they're going to come back and help.
And help is what they did. More than 100 volunteers showed up, and an anonymous donor donated $22,000 to finish the roof.
We need to do that as a community. We need to come together.
What is your favorite part about giving back to the community?
The camaraderie.
And I think it's really, really important that we make more awareness to poverty and homelessness.
There you go. Put some muscle in it.
From removing garbage to knocking down walls, volunteers from the community were hands-on at the home on East Carroll Street in Macomb.
I feel like this has taken so long to get here, and it finally is, and the people that are going to be able to live in here are going to be able to start fresh and have a new life and just new opportunities, and I'm so excited for them.
Will says he hopes to have the shelter done within the next 6 to 12 months. And let's say you can help. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 on Good Morning Macomb. Will sit down with us as he explains what Genesis Garden really is and the opportunities you can hear of that you can get involved with.